So the Justice League Snyder cut is actually something that's getting a lot of people talking about this version of Justice League. The Snyder cut was the version that Zack Snyder wanted to release, but sadly could not from family problems. So MCU's Joss Whedon came in and did a lot of reshoots. Now, before we get into this video, guys, today we're going to actually give into some of the things we know about the Snyder cut and the version that Zack Snyder wanted to see about Justice League. Now, before we get in, something that really needs to be introduced. This version of the film doesn't actually exist. It's not like it's on a hard drive somewhere in Hollywood just kind of floating around and somebody has to just try to find it. If this film really wanted to exist, which Zack Snyder really wants it to, the cast really wants it to, and Hollywood really likes money, so put all those things together, so it probably could exist. Zack Snyder would have to go in and edit the whole thing. But we're going to talk about some things that we know about the Snyder cut, that if we did see it, we would see it. First things first, it's over 3 hours long. Zack Snyder likes to make his films big, and he likes to make his films long. How long would this film actually be? This film would have been 3 hours and 25 minutes long. That is a long movie. That is longer than Batman vs Superman. And it is because I feel like one of the biggest problems with Justice League is how tight and how just it felt like there was so much stuff cut out, and there was an hour and 25 minutes max cut out from this film, and then that's not even the longest version of the film out there. The version before everything, when everything is just in one thing before they edit thing out, is over 5 hours long. So that is a long film. 3 hours and 25 minutes is long, but I feel like it would give a lot of characters enough time to do and a lot of stuff to really work on. And I think this would have made the film a lot better, and it would also make the film flow a lot better. Next thing, we would have seen a Martian Manhunter in this film. Martian Manhunter is one of those characters that I would love to see in a live-action DC film, and we were about to see him in the Snyder cut. This is really disappointing because I absolutely really enjoy Martian Manhunter as a character, and this would have been so cool to see Martian Manhunter team up with the Justice League, but sadly this did not happen. This is very sad because I would have absolutely loved to see this happen, and I would have absolutely loved to see Martian Manhunter interact with the Justice League, interact with Steppenwolf, do a lot of great action, and he's just such a great character, and I really wish we would have seen him. We saw him in the Snyder cut, but sadly he was removed from the film. Next thing, this film would have ended leading straight up to Aquaman. And the end of the film, when we see Aquaman, he just goes in the water, and that's all we see of him. But in the Snyder cut, this would have actually leaded straight into the actual Aquaman film. They would have told him about Atlantis and that there's a big threat coming about his brother, and this would have led straight into Aquaman, the film itself. Even though I did, for this being one of my problems with the DC universe, for this being a shared universe, they're not doing really much of sharing the universe, and they're not doing as good as, let's just say, another big film universe franchise that, I can't think of the name on the top of my tongue. It's a big franchise, but just can't think of the name. This would have been so cool to see because, first of all, it would have hyped people up so much more for Aquaman because it was really great. The trailers themselves weren't that great, and I feel like if the film would have ended leading up to the film of Aquaman, would have been quite amazing, and that's would have been so cool. Next up, Cyborg has a fight scene, and Cyborg's dad ends up dying. Yes, there are some leaked photos and images from Zack Snyder himself in the laboratory where you see Doom, you see Steppenwolf, you see the Mother Box, you see Cyborg in the middle, and you also see his dad, and his dad apparently does end up dying in this scene, and Cyborg actually does get a fight scene. Cyborg was my least favorite part of the film. He was so bland and dull, and there was so much that we were supposed to see in him, and for him to actually get a fight scene and for his dad to die, I think would have gave a nice little edge to this film. It would have made this film a lot more, I wouldn't say darker, but it would have gave this film a lot more of a nice edge. And also, next thing up, Wonder Woman beheads Steppenwolf in the final act of this film. Now, I absolutely hate the way Steppenwolf goes out. He the Justice League makes the parademons turn on him, and then he just teleports away. But no. Snyder really wanted this to really happen. How this scene would have gone: Aquaman threw his trident and into Steppenwolf, I guess paralyzing him. Superman would have punched him, breaking his jaw, and then Wonder Woman would have cut his head clean off. This would have been, first of all, a really cool ending for a villain that was pretty bland, but it also would have showed these characters what we wanted them to do, wanted them to team up, and this would have been, yes, the Justice League finally teamed up and beheaded somebody. This would have been such a cool moment and would have actually done great. Next up, they would have showed Flash's time travel powers a lot more, and this would have helped a lot connecting that scene in Batman vs Superman, which were supposedly that is the Flash telling Bruce Wayne that you were right about Superman. They were going to apparently put the Flash in the mother box, and they were going to use his little time thing and really explain a lot more of his time powers. And you know, I didn't love Flash in the film. In the film, he was mostly used for comic relief, and I bet in the Snyder Cut he still would have been used for it, but in the Snyder Cut he actually was useful and used his Flash powers more than just getting into green gunk and killing some parademons. This would have been a great moment. It would have showed Flash's powers actually being used, as I said, for something useful. And also, next thing, and I guess the final thing I'll mention in this video, Superman's black suit. Even before we knew anything about this film, this is something Snyder promised us we would see, is Superman's black suit after he gets resurrected, and, you know, he doesn't really feel like he deserves his suit, so he has the black suit. For Superman fans, they're probably going to hate this, but I don't mind it because I'm not a big fan of Superman. He would have had his black suit through the whole film of Justice League, the whole thing of Justice League 2, and then pretty much the whole thing in Justice League 3, but then at the end, he finally gets his film. So that even it sets that Snyder was planning on having 3 Justice League films, and having his black suit, that would have been so awesome to see. I would have absolutely loved it to see the black suit. So those were some of the things that we would have seen in the Snyder Cut. I hope we do eventually get a Snyder Cut. That would have been so cool to see. What do you think of these things? What do you think of the Snyder Cut? Would you like to see the Snyder Cut, or do you like the normal version of Justice League and don't really want to see the Snyder Cut? Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. If you guys could please leave this video a big like, it really does help out this channel a ton. Click the bell so you guys get notified when I upload another video. Subscribe if you're also new to the channel, really does help this channel out a ton. You guys can check out my Instagram, general_Daniel77, linked in the description. You guys can also check out my podcast, The Tube Is in a Pod podcast. I do every single Tuesday morning. You guys can check out that, also linked in the description below, guys. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. General out.